Hello and welcome to the Final Frontiersmen, a YouTube channel about all things Trek. I'm Jeremy,
And I'm Bill.
and we're here to talk about Episode 6 of Strange New Worlds.
Mm.
Let me look this up. Lift Us Up, where. That's a long title.
That's a very long title.
Lift Us Up
Yeah,
where suffering cannot reach.
yeah,
Clearly,
yeah,
we're prepared.
yeah.
So,
Like I said, we have it up on top with the scroll. I said it probably isn't even going to revolve one time before
I
the
know,
episode's
right?
finished. It's
Yeah,
such a
so
long title.
yes, Lift Us Up where suffering cannot
Yeah.
reach. This episode caught me a little off guard.
Same. Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. Tell us a bit about this episode, Bill, and then we can go
Okay,
into it.
so very quick recap, hopefully quick, but in this episode, the Enterprise arrives in the Magellan system or Magellan system. I always get that wrong, but they arrive in the Magellan system for a cartographical survey.
Mm.
It's there that they rescue a civilian shuttle that is under attack by an unknown but technologically inferior vessel. So the Enterprise easily fights it off, and they rescue three occupants from this civilian shuttle, one of whom turns out to be a woman named Alora,
Mm.
someone that Captain Pike met 10 years ago when he visited the system for the first time as a lieutenant. The other two passengers are a father and a son, with the boy being known as the first servant. And from the story, he seems to be some type of a leader who was selected at birth, and he's about to ascend to whatever his position is in his society. Well, as Captain Pike assists Alora in protecting the first servant, and the Enterprise crew starts investigating who it was that attacked them, Dr. Mbenga learns that the Magellans have this extremely advanced medical technology, and this gives him hope that he might be able to use it to find a cure for his daughter. But things are not all as they seem in this episode that is filled with twists, turns, and a heavy moral dilemma by the end.
It was, yeah. This episode, I'm going to go ahead and start right now saying that this episode was the very definition of classic Star Trek to me.
Yeah, yeah,
This is what the writers promised as far
yeah.
as really going back and putting these moral dilemmas on top of things. And one thing that, and feel free to call me out, but this is one of the few times that Starfleet didn't intervene because they couldn't.
Yeah, yeah,
They
yeah, they really
couldn't, and
could.
and that's almost I almost appreciated that. But
Yeah.
it really gets people thinking. Um, and I don't really have. We do our alert system as we talk about
Hmm.
this episode, and just a real quick recap. If we see something in this show in this episode that is just amazing, something we love, we really want to call attention to it. We call that a red alert. If we feel that something is foreshadowing because it show up later on,
Hmm.
something to watch out for, we're going to call that a yellow alert. And then later on, if we see something that is going to break canon or something that is just really twisting things around, we're going to call that a black alert, which we've not seen in Strange New Worlds yet.
Not yet, not
Not
yet. No.
yet. But yeah. So what kind of notes have you made for this episode, Bill?
Well, I mean, again, as I go through the episode watching, I just pretty much note down everything that's happening in every scene, and then
Mm-hmm.
just keep going through it to see what stands out. But I want to, just like you jumped kind of on the point at the very beginning, I just want to add to that too, that like you said, Starfleet doesn't intervene. Really, they don't win in this
No,
episode.
at all.
It's but it's not like they lose. It's really gray, and I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
we're going. This is going to be the majority of the discussion, so I might want to just save it to the end. But but really, I think what was good about that point is because, as we know, Pike is facing this fate of his coming down the road,
Mm-hmm.
that he knows he's going to be in the accident, he's going to be scarred, and the life as he know it is going to end.
Right.
So seeing them succeed week after week after week gets you thinking, well, Pike has a chance. But when you see in this episode, he can lose. It's
Yes.
very possible he's not going to have a happy ending in
Right.
everything he attempts. And so that fate of his might be as set in stone as we believe it is. So, yeah.
Exactly. I think I don't remember if it was you I was having a discussion with, but I had to talk with someone about Pike. At this point, he knows how it's going to end for him, and so he could take on the most dangerous mission ever and come out fine.
Yeah.
But I think this episode centered him a little bit to say, well, it's probably not always going to be fine.
Yeah.
So,
And it doesn't mean that his life has to be in danger. The thing that he fails at might be stuff that affects other people, as we see in this episode. So
absolutely.
he got a taste that, yeah, his fate might be sealed just as he's worried about,
Hmm.
just as someone else's fate is sealed in this episode, as
Absolutely.
as and for all the wrong reasons. So let's just rush through the other points, because I think really the bulk of the discussion pertains to the final 10 minutes of this episode.
It really
Because
does. Yeah.
like you said, I was kind of taken by surprise at the end. And because the episode, it seemed pretty standard at first. It seemed, and it was a good episode. It was fun. I thought it wasn't as good as the previous two, perhaps, or maybe the previous three, as it was going along, because it seemed too predictable. It seemed like, okay, I know where it's going. And then at the
Right.
end, I found out, like, oh, no, it wasn't predictable at all. They were just making it look predictable.
Yeah, a
But
bit. When they brought it up about the situation early in the episode about their
yeah,
medical technology and how
yes,
incredible it is, I immediately looked at my wife and I was like, "Yeah, they're not going to give it to Mbanga at all."
yeah,
That was pretty obvious. I think.
we
Um,
knew that. Yeah.
yeah. Now, when they referred to the child as they're saying so he's going to ascend,
Mhm.
I smelled a bit of a rat, but I just didn't
Yeah.
make the connection as to where
Yeah.
it was going. But I was like, Ascension, huh?
Exactly. Yeah. I knew, like, there's going to be something bad about this, and the
Yeah,
fact that there's this unknown ship trying to stop it from happening, it's like, okay, there's more than meets the eye of what's happening here, but I didn't quite put it together what that ascend was. Now, when it got to the end where the ascension was about to happen, then yeah, start to smell a rat, but
right.
still the detail of it is where the knife gets twisted, and that's what I loved about it. And yeah, we're going to get to that again. I
Of
can't even
course,
talk about the other points
I
because,
know, right?
like,
So
that's really the
just
one thing I want to talk about. But Dr. Mbenga was nice seeing his daughter again.
yes,
It
it
was
was.
nice seeing that story brought up, and that hope that he got in seeing that there is this medical technology out there. It's just out of his reach.
Right.
There's hope by the end of the episode, but he doesn't
Yes.
get the cure.
Yeah, there's other worlds out there, I think, but I mean, we'll get to all that because, as you said, when it comes to notes, I really don't have a ton of notes about the show because of just the end right
Just
there.
the end, I know.
Yeah, just I guess moving forward though, so we can get to that discussion. The I'm going to start out as we work through the episode at the very very beginning when we
Mm,
have previously on. Now
mm,
the way Strange New Worlds is set up, it's classic Trek. That's what
yeah.
it's supposed to be, and one episode doesn't necessarily have to tie to the other. So I just have a fun, just a question. I don't object to what they're doing, but is
Mhm.
previously on necessary?
I think what they're doing is they're just showing those little bits and pieces that are going to relate to this episode,
Sure.
probably maybe for the benefit of people who didn't watch the earlier episodes. I
Hmm.
don't think it's necessary, but I think this is something we've discussed before off camera, where there's a lot of hand holding in modern Star Trek, where
Yeah.
it's instead of like in the older ones where basically, like, without you didn't have the chance of just rewatching as you pleased. So you watch it once a week, you get a new episode, then it'll be gone for the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And like even after the episode's done, if you didn't record it yourself, you can't watch it again. And even then they never did previously on unless it was a continuation.
Exactly.
And this one, yeah, the modern Trek, it's like you have it, you could go back and check, but it's still a little bit of like they're telling you.
Handholding, yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of Japanese TV where they don't trust the viewer to be able to figure things out by themselves. So when a new character comes on screen on a Japanese TV show, or even foreign shows that they air in Japan, they will edit it in. They will put the character's name on screen as title characters and say who it's played by, because so you don't have to figure out who the guy is, even if they're not going to be formally introduced until like 10 minutes later. They'll introduce that person as soon as they come on, so the viewer is like, oh, I know who I'm dealing with now.
That's actually interesting. Okay. Yeah, because that's something that I also think that we talk about modern Trek versus the Trek from before. A lot of people talk all the time about how nostalgic they are, and they remember these episodes, and they can repeat these episodes over and over and over because it was on the TV. I don't care what I'm doing. I'm working or whatever. It's on the TV. And they'll look over. I remember this episode. This day and age, in the world of streaming, we're not going to be doing that.
No,
just a random episode of Trek just being on TV. Oh yeah, this is the one where this happens.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if this, the hand holding is necessary. It almost sounds demeaning, but at the same time, it's like, well, in the age we live in, it's almost
I think
necessary.
People need it. Yeah.
Anyway,
it might.
Yeah, I don't object to it being there. It's just when they said previously on, I'm like, my God, is that really necessary? But
yeah.
But then I want to continue to move on into move forward to when they save the people on the ship. They beam them over, and I immediately called out the costumes from the people from the other world. Terrible with names. The young lady, when she steps off, and her and Pike have that interaction, you find out they have a history. The costume, the work that they did is just fantastic. It reminded me so much of that era of Trek where they had the my wife called it the metallic bright metal fabric. On there that
it all has that era of Trek design to it, like the costume, the makeup. It's like these look like the kind of aliens that would appear in Trek, and it's been this way for weeks now.
Absolutely, I think I said that with the previous episode with the people they did the diplomatic negotiations with. They look like, if you had showed me a picture of them, said they were on episode 203 of Voyager, I would have believed you. I was like, oh they look like I remember
it's new and familiar, and that's what Strange New Worlds has been from the get-go. And I think that's why it's getting as much traction with the people who like New Trek and the people who don't like New Trek in general. I think because everyone can find something that they love in this series, whereas like some people are turned off by the older Trek because it is getting dated now. Definitely. And some people are turned off by the newer Trek because, again, it has its own style that doesn't really connect with what came before.
Absolutely.
So this one is a very nice middle-of-the-road series where it compromises. It doesn't 100% please both sides, but it gives both sides really the bulk of what they're looking for.
Exactly. And after watching this episode and just showing someone who just has refused to see any modern Trek, showing them this episode, if they've still got a problem with it, I don't know how to fix it at all. Because I
loved it.
Yeah,
I loved it. Now, before we, because again, I want to fly through notes, I just want to talk about Pike in this episode. I was going to give it an alert, but I think that would be too much abuse of the alert system, so I'm not going to do that. But I just want to go like three points. Okay, 3 points about Pike in this episode that I just want to cover before we go on. First, when they find the traitor on the planet, when they find that traitor, who was one of the ones trying to kidnap the first servant as part of the attack in the beginning, when Pike chases down the traitor and does the football tackle on him, I thought that was just a nice, awesome, like TOS Kirk kind of combat scene.
Yes.
He comes charging and does the full body tackle, grabs the gun, picks it up, puts it on, like thumbs up, Pike. The second thing, some romance for Pike. You get Pike reunited with Alora, this alien that he met 10 years ago. They're getting along well, and then they get along very well behind closed doors, which leads me to the third thing I want to point out, because it's also a very big topic on social media as well. And this is why I was going to give the alert to, but that's just abusing the system. Pike's hair is just it's its own character.
It's its own character, yeah.
Like I made a joke image up on Twitter of the original credits for the series, where it says starring Anson Mount, and I added also starring Anson Mount's hair. And
as
like,
itself.
But I love the scene. You have the post-coital scene. They had sex. And then the scene after that where they're cuddling together, his hair is perfect. His hair is glorious. It's like, but that also harkens back to like 1960s style, where no matter what, they're sleeping, they go through a typhoon, the hair is going to be gorgeous.
Absolutely. Yeah. The lighting is always going to be perfect. Because
and it's always going to be perfect.
Original series, if you watch, they've always got the lighting. I need to walk down the halls of the original Enterprise and see where these light sources are.
Yeah,
because they don't make sense.
Yeah, not at all.
But you're right. They do highlight. They do highlight features and all that. So, and that brings up a point that I would like to ask is, I mean, do we need another... maybe the word womanizer is rough, but, I mean, we've had Kirk, we've had Riker, and now...
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it's... I don't know if it's fitting yet. I mean, because he did have history with her, and it seemed like that they were flirting when they were younger from the dialogue. So maybe it's a bit too early to describe him as a womanizer. It's pretty much the first time we've seen him do it, right? Literally.
No, the first episode he had that other...
that woman. Yeah.
He's got 2 points. He's got 2 points on the board so far.
Yeah,
only 6 episodes in.
I forgot about that. The other captain. Yeah. Okay. All right. Pike. Okay, we're watching you. Well, you know what? The captain. She might have actually been his hair's girlfriend, and this girl here is the rest of the body's
That's possible.
It's going to be on. Yeah.
I'm trying to look at it from two different sides. The side of, God, we have so many characters in Trek like this. Do we need another one?
Yeah.
And the other side is, my God, that's just Star Trek. You know, there's two sides to that argument, and I can see the points from both ends. I just like to bring questions for discussion.
Yeah. It's a little of classic. It's a little of modern. So I think that's a holdover from the classic, especially the Kirk era. I mean, this is something you kind of expect the captains to be doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Almost.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
All right. I just want to bring up one other small point that I really liked. I really love the bonding that Spock was doing with the first servant when he saw how smart the boy was, how intelligent, how basically genius. He knows all about these scientific techniques. He builds his own subspace transmitter. Just a very slight eyebrow raise on Spock as he's listening to this. You see just how much love is gushing inside of him that can't come out to the surface. That he's like, this is my boy right here.
Ethan Peck is doing a fantastic job.
Much better than I expected. I honestly, I love his portrayal as Spock, and I thought I wouldn't. Right. I was actually really disappointed when he was cast in Discovery, And I thought this, he doesn't really give off that vibe. But
No,
honestly, I have no complaints about his
no,
performance. I
none
love I
whatsoever.
love Spock. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Surprisingly, I
he's
love it.
done really really well, and
Two thumbs up from me. Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. So I mean, as far as the episode goes, it goes into it mostly spends a lot of time in the sick bay discussing, hey, we have this technology, but we're not going to give it to you.
Yeah.
And like I said, I expected that. Not a ton to
Yep.
say. You mentioned Manga spending time with his daughter. I think that's really sweet. I'm having a good
Mm.
time watching that. Um, and unless you have any other notes, we can kind of move on into
Yeah, I
toward
definitely
the
want to
end
move on to the end. I want to
because
move on to that now. And
that was a
slightly,
lot.
some of that relates back to what you're just saying, because Alora also offers Pike that same medical technology if he's willing to come live
Right.
with them and be part of that technology. So it's like,
Yes.
oh, there is a glimmer of hope for him.
Right.
And then,
But then you have to be
sure.
part of our
Yeah,
society.
you have to be part of society. But he would have to become part of the Telosian society to survive anyhow in his own future.
This is
Um,
true.
so he's going to have to become part of a society. Unfortunately, I think we get the reason why he's not going to join the Magellan Society by the end of the episode. So let's shut up about everything else and how great Ethan Peck is. Let's go to the end of the episode, because I can't even focus on everything else that we're talking about here. I want to
Right.
discuss the ending.
All right. So I'm gonna let you take. I'll let you take point on this.
Okay. Well, the twist is, and again, going through the episode, you see, okay, there's something else going on, and you get the gist long before it's revealed that probably the people attacking are more on the side we want to be than the Magellans themselves. So
Yes.
it was kind of building to that with how secretive everyone was acting, and it was super suspicious. So I was expecting it to go down the way it did, but not in the details, and that's
Correct.
the point. So the Ascension, just to bring it up against spoilers, because every video we do is spoilers, but the Ascension is that the way they have this beautiful cloud city, their cities float in the clouds because the
Yes.
surface of the planet is uninhabitable, acid, lava, the works. And the what the first servant does. Now, they mentioned earlier in the episode, I wrote down that their society and the first servant is chosen to represent science, service, and sacrifice.
Yes.
Those are the three tenets of their society. So what happens when the first servant ascends is he is basically sacrificed, but in the worst way possible, because he's not killed.
No.
He's put inside the machine, which might want to give this a yellow alert here, honestly, now that I think about it. Can I get a yellow alert?
Absolutely. Yeah.
He's put in this machine that they say in the episode they really don't know what it does. They don't know who made it. They don't know
Right.
where it's from.
Exactly.
So, and the fact that we
Or
never
why.
get the answer for that.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, that's kind of intriguing.
Yeah.
So that's my little yellow alert for here, that this might come back in the future to play into something, or it could just be like, we don't know what it is, but this is what it needs. They basically plug in this child. It has to be a child.
Yes.
They plug in this child into this machine where these little tendrils come out, link up into him, and basically uses the life force of this child to keep
Yeah.
the city aloft,
Yeah.
to
That's
keep their
horrific.
technology going.
It's
And the
horrific.
child exists in this state of this almost vegetative state,
Yeah.
but of agony. It was almost like a Black Mirror episode.
It was. It really was. The part that really hit me is when they were taking the previous child out,
Yeah.
and it was
Oh,
in the,
God.
they
And you
showed him.
see
Yeah, and
you
even,
see what becomes of these children
Yeah.
that basically have their life force sucked away over I don't know how long.
Absolutely
And it's
terrible.
horrific.
Oh,
And this sweet, like, precocious, wonderful boy that we've gotten to know over the last hour is now consigned to this fate.
Yeah.
And then Pike comes in and he starts like fisticuffing his way through all the guards to try stop it. But once the child's plugged in, they say if you disconnect him, he dies.
He's gonna die.
So his sacrifice, and here can I'll let you talk first before I go on more, because I'm just like going off.
No. It's fine. I mean, what more is there to say, really? And because when I saw that, it was horrific, but then it just caused so much. I'm going to continue on just harping on it. I've seen episodes of Star Trek like this before. The original series episode where they were doing these wars, like these two factions on this planet were doing wars, but they were push button wars. And the wars were basically calculations and say, okay, well, based on this calculated attack, 10 people died. So, and then they just randomly pick 10 people and they walk into a machine that vaporizes them because, well, that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yep.
And it's like, why do you do that?
But this is up there with that kind of style where this is how a society has found a way to achieve peace and prosperity in their world. But if you look at it, it's a horrific thing.
It is.
But awful. Then you're comparing that this is the life of one single being that happens to be a child, unfortunately. Sacrificing one child for the benefit of everyone else. They said that their society knows no disease, knows no suffering, and it's due to the sacrifice.
Right.
So it really is such a heavy issue because you think, and this goes back to Star Trek 2, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Exactly.
So you have the suffering, not the death. The death comes later.
Yes.
You have the suffering of one child for the benefit of countless millions.
Right. And then the whole society looks at them. The point where they said, and we don't look away. That was impactful to me too. It's like, this happens and we don't look away. That's wow. Like it just really drags a lot of thought out. So
yeah. Well, I just want to do a red alert on the one quote that she says at the end, that when Pike confronts her, and she says this. She says to Pike, this is Alora, of course, "Can you honestly say no child suffers for the benefit of your Federation? That no child lives in poverty or squalor while those that enjoy abundance look away? The only difference is we don't look away."
Yeah.
And it's like, wow.
Yeah, so deep. That was deep. Like, and it cuts. It really, really that cuts deep. And then Pike clearly, he makes his choice. Like, I'm not going to be part of this. I'm going to report you to the Federation. She's like, report us. Go ahead.
Yeah.
That's not going.
We're not part of the Federation.
Yeah, we're not. And so he goes back, and he's the last shot of him reflecting what all everything's happened, because man, that's a lot.
And the last scene was powerful because even without words, you see how it's tearing him apart.
Yes, absolutely.
And a girl that he loves, he could get along with her, a planet that could provide him hope, but he knows that hope comes at the life of this little boy or the next little girl that they have planned. And like, I think it's really fitting for this day and age as well.
Yes.
Where it's sadly very relevant today. And here's the thing. Yes. Do we look away? Or do we look at this sacrifice and honor the sacrifice to make society better?
Exactly. And that's what Trek has done before.
This
and
was
now
pure,
what it's doing here. This episode
pure Star Trek.
So powerful. I mean, there is, but
this episode was a 6 for me up until those last 10 minutes, and then that just justified the entire thing. I went back and watched it again after. Now that I know how this is going to turn out, I want to watch it again. And it made it even more painful now that I know what's going to happen to the boy.
Absolutely. Watching, and yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's like, oh man. Yeah.
All right.
Perfect Trek episode.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And hurts. It hurts bad.
It does. Yeah, it does. Well, do you have anything else before we close out here?
No, I just love the way it made me think. Oh, I do want to say one thing.
Okay.
One more thing, just not really connected to the episode, but what's again big on Twitter right now that fully applies to this episode, and I said it last week, and I'm saying it again here, hashtag Mortagus. We need more Erica Ortegas. Why is she not? Why is she not the focus of the episode? Yeah, 4 episodes to go, and we haven't gotten much of her.
Right.
The last 4 episodes better be an Ortegas arc. That's all I'm saying. Like,
absolutely.
But hashtag Mortagus. That's what we want.
Okay, yeah, we'll look forward. She'll get her episode. I'm gonna see too.
Fingers crossed. We got Mbenga back. We got Mbenga in focus again, so I'm happy about that. We need Ortegas now.
I need Hemmer though in my life.
Yeah, Hemmer's still out.
Completely out of this episode, which again I'm okay with that because I think we're gonna have focused episodes.
Yeah.
Later on.
But we need Ortegas. We need it now.
Sure. Okay. Well, guys, we really appreciate you watching. Hope you enjoyed what we had to say. And, hey, if you got questions, concerns, comments, anything, let us know. We'd love to interact and chat with you in the comments down below. We also have our socials, which Bill should be linking down below, or if you want to call them out.
Yeah, it should be right down below in the links, but on social media, it's at the Final FM. You can find us.
All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you. We're looking forward to the next episode, and we do have more content we're working on. So, until next time, live long and prosper.
Mortagus!